you guys can talk about blockchain for 2 days. I bet today's at the end of the day one. You must be really tired by now. And I'll start by telling you that I've added AI here to blockchain simply because how many insurance companies here? Anyone that's really interested in hearing blockchain applications for insurance companies? Okay, thank goodness I only see a few hands because my answer is I don't have a solution. There's blockchain on insurance, just 2 days ago. So PingAn is insurance company for sure. I guess that's the reason why we're plugged in this session. But nevertheless, don't be disappointed. I do have some insurtech solutions to show you. And then we can discuss about between blockchain and AI. To us, they're highly integrated, they're highly together. A lot of our solutions, it starts with AI, and then sometimes we put blockchain in. But it's not everywhere, and it doesn't make sense to put blockchain everywhere. We're a relatively young blockchain player, and sort of by chance, but I'll tell you the story in a little while. So let's go to a bit of an introduction. I don't know, how many people know PingAn Group? Okay, that's good. So OneConnect is the fintech arm of the PingAn Group. It's very popular nowadays that you are so-and-so bank and you have a fintech arm of yourself. So OneConnect is 3 years old in China. In Singapore, OneConnect is 1 year old, which is shy of a month to 1 year old. PingAn is 30 years old. We're the largest financial institution in terms we're number 7 on the Forbes Global 2000. So 30 years of history. You see 4 bullets here because we mapped out our strategy for the next 10 years. So for the first 10 years, we are only an insurance company. We're the first insurance licensed private insurance in China, and now we're the largest one. First 10 years, we only did insurance. Second decade, PingAn ventured into becoming end-to-end financial institution. So we acquired a bank, we started banking, asset management, etc. Altogether, we have about 32 subsidiaries in China. And the business stayed in China in the second decade. In the third decade, we decided, and that was the decade of the Tencent, Alibaba. Our founder, Peter Ma, I don't know how many, he's still around today. He's our chairman and CEO still today. He's not retired yet, still very active in the organization. And in the last decade, when he saw all these IT companies spinning up, he decided that I don't want to be a financial institution, and he says I want to be a technology company. Sounds very familiar. Sounds very familiar right now, but 10 years ago it's not that familiar 10 years ago. So from 10 years ago, we invested 1% of our revenue on R&D, on technology, all within the group. So it's not meant for external. It's just all about digitizing own PingAn Group in the last 10 years. First 7-8 years, we invested and gotten nothing much out of it to a certain extent. We invested and continue to invest. Just in 2018 is $2 billion USD on investment in R&D. Technology really only yields us some income and a good ROI in the last 2-3 years. So imagine 10 years of investment, first 7 years is really dumping your money into R&D only. The next 10 years, we felt we've made the right decision. Today, if you have heard about the PingAn story, you will know that any bank or any financial institution finds it very hard to digitize and transform itself, right? So PingAn has gotten through this journey of being able to do so through our investment. In the next 10 years, we're going to double that investment. Last 10 years was $7 billion. It's going to double to $15 billion. Nevertheless, this amount is not comparable to any tech company. I came from Microsoft, so the Microsoft and the Google for sure invest much more money, and the IBM in terms of R&D. But for a financial institution, this is a huge amount of money on R&D. This just explains the scale of PingAn. And in the interest of time, I'm going to go a little faster so we have some time on case studies and possibly some time on Q&A. Our revenue is $200 billion last year in 2018. We're number 29 on the Fortune 500. And you can see that we have a lot of data. We use a day in a PingAn day so as to show you that why are we successful in digitizing ourselves? It's because of the data that we have. And when 10 years ago, people don't know people are not yet so conscious about keeping data to yourself, or how much you can harness data. out of your organization. And the only reason why we're able to invest in R&D, work on our own, is because we have the data internally. So you can see, like for example, later on I'll show you we have a call center solution, and the only reason is because we have 1 million calls a day. So 1 million calls from customer in and out a day gives you so much call recordings. At one point we had an entire building or more than one building in China on call center agents. We have about 200,000 call center agents, and today we've managed to downsize it by a good 30-40% or so, and it will further downsize further once we can automate much of these calls. And then I'll show you an insurance car claim solution as well, and the only reason is because our daily claims is, let me see, 28. Payment is 28 billion in terms of counts. Can't see the counts here. But all in all, we have about 30,000 claims a day. 30,000 car claims a day. In Vietnam, it's 30,000 car claims a year. In PingAn, is a day. And therefore, we have then automated a lot of the car claim solution. I will try to just skip this. PingAn is a big group, right? There are 5 ecosystems that we are building. OneConnect fits into the financial services area. So this is what this slide is trying to say. So 3 years. So I'll move from PingAn to OneConnect, right? So we're the fintech arm of PingAn Group. And we basically take the technology that works within PingAn. So after 10 years of investing in technology, we're finding good outcomes in deploying this technology within ourselves. We're seeing that our business growth is been good. We found a lot of patterns. And OneConnect is actually basically created to commercialize this pattern. So if you invested so much money, you find it that it's so hard with so much data and so much money pumped in order to create this technology. Really, there isn't, unless you have deep pockets, otherwise it's hard to create this technology. And we recognize that, and Peter Ma, our founder, recognizes that there is such a gap in enabling the financial institutions, especially the smaller rural banks or the smaller insurance companies. So we started OneConnect to commercialize, so the rural banks or the smaller insurance companies our targeted audience. So 3 years down the road, we found great success. You can see today I cover 93% of the banks in China. We cover 31% of the rural banks, 93% of the commercial banks. Insurance coverage is also about between 25% market share in China. And then a whole bunch of other non-bank financial institution customers. We've gotten the success in China, and therefore we set up Singapore for mainly Southeast Asia. There are 4 areas of our technology. Blockchain and AI, you can see in the middle of them are our 2 big clusters. Most of our AI solutions are relating to biometrics, facial recognition, and then voice print analysis, ID verification, etc. And then we have the blockchain solution as well. I'll talk a little bit about the blockchain solution. So I put this slide because we sort of entered blockchain by luck, I would say. Yeah, we're not we don't have the history of a decade-old R3 Ethereum or whatever. We're the first member of the Hyperledger consortium, though. But then it was frustrating for us because it was a consortium. I think earlier there was a speaker that says that blockchain is only successful if you have multiple players in a consortium. We sort of felt differently. In a consortium, it was just very hard. Things were slow. There's a lot of things you can't do. A lot of things stayed in experiments and never get implemented. So we decided we'll invest in blockchain on our own. It's still built on the Hyperledger fabric. So we hire people who knows the Hyperledger fabric. And then, like all Chinese companies, we pay well so that they invest in research to find out. And the objective is just to figure out what Hyperledger cannot fix, and then to fix that. I'm going to come back to this slide because I have this particular slide. So we added a security layer. It's called FiMax. And FiMax basically worked on the areas that that blockchain couldn't, that the Hyperledger couldn't address. So this part is a little bit more technical, but I'm sure the whole morning you would have heard everything about blockchain. So we have addressed a couple of things that we think we did a little breakthrough. We have about 130 patents filed on blockchain that's on top of the Hyperledger. And then we also got selected for the Hong Kong E-Trade Connect, right? So this is actually our first project. We didn't spend much time thinking too much about blockchain. We first decided that we'll invest in the technology to find out more. And then we've managed to solve a couple of things that Hong Kong MA was looking for at the time of the tender. And therefore, we, at the right time, at the right place, we very luckily gotten the tender, and now the platform is live. This is probably globally, I think, in Asia, the first platform. I think there was a Europe platform, We.Trade, was also live, I think, within 1 or 2 months before Hong Kong. But this is a national level system. There are live transactions in it. We're very happy with it. There are, I think, 7 banks to begin with, and right now we have about 14 banks on the platform. The next step will be to add the insurance companies, logistic companies, etc. So our blockchain expertise is very limited to trade finance and supply chain finance. I think the whole morning you would have heard a lot about supply chain finance. Everything else about blockchain is very experimental. Within PingAn Group, you can see here in this slide, within PingAn Group, we experiment blockchain all over. You can see medical records, environmental protection, reinsurance, asset management. Our philosophy in a new technology is that we want to experiment within the group. The value proposition of OneConnect as a fintech startup is that we don't sell solutions that we design in the lab to financial institutions. We make sure that the solution is used by the PingAn Group. Is used and adopted, tested, failed, whatever within the PingAn Group, and then before we sell it to the customers. So in blockchain, we have a lot of areas that we experiment within the PingAn Group. I wouldn't probably touch on them. Trade finance and supply chain finance is where we have applied it commercially. There are real life cases, and I think tested value proposition of blockchain. We've recently also won the Asian Banker for the best blockchain platform. I think, and largely due to our work in Hong Kong MA. We're hoping to see more such platforms in Southeast Asia that will facilitate connection. I think there's a lot that can happen once these platforms are connected. This is one example. This is another example whereby we have integrated blockchain and AI. So earlier I mentioned about, so banks move faster than insurance, and AI move faster than blockchain as a tech. And there are good reasons for it, because data first came before computing power came. So from the time we had mobile phones, everybody starts collecting all kinds of data, and this big data boom is where AI develops first, because AI requires a lot of data. And therefore these solutions develop ahead of blockchain. Blockchain sort of decentralizes data to a certain extent. So once you have your data to yourself, you can then create solutions that's AI-based, that's smart. But then it's only smart for yourself, not smart for others. And then blockchain facilitates a bit of a shared value between users that don't trust each other, right? But both of them are very dependent on, number one, valuing the data to be shared, and second, allowing intelligence, shared intelligence, moving from a bit of a shared data to shared intelligence to a certain extent. So this solution that we built for Tianjin Port is actually a trade finance blockchain system to begin with, but we have put in AI solutions in there, simply because they're very complementary. It probably didn't start with the end in mind, I would say. Yeah, but then it's very complementary. Basically, China Customs wants to connect to the world. right? And to connect to the world, the very first step is to first build a base with all your internal people first, your single window of customs, and then your shippers consortiums and some of your banks, right? So that's the very first step. And then the second step is to find another connecting customs, and China has so many single windows, so we built this for Tianjin port. And at the same time, before you find a connecting party, there must be some value in return. So we baked in some AI values in there. We basically put in some AI engines for custom clearance, speediness in custom clearance. The intent for custom clearance was that if it's cleared in one port in China, it should be also cleared in the green lane, say in another country or another port of China. So that was the intent for looking into customs. But before we could get that to happen, we put in other solutions. Like if you were to travel at the airport today, and then you were to put your bags on the X-ray machines, there will be somebody who's sitting there for an hour looking at the X-ray films and wondering whether you carried a laptop with something else inside or a battery or whatever. Then his eyes gets really tired, and then another person takes over and stuff like that. So basically we try to automate that. With all these X-ray films, the AI engine then is able to alert whether you see something that doesn't look normal. Yeah, so that's what we put in the engine. We also put a lot of KYC solutions. So if you have spoken about KYC solutions in the morning, you realize that the KYC solutions are very AI based. You do facial recognition, you do authentication before you get onto any platform, and we also incorporate that into this particular solution. Okay, so I move on to a little bit of the insurance solution, but you realize that these insurance solutions today don't have blockchain in there. It's very heavy on AI. So in China, we had a problem. China had a policy that you have to record the conversation when an insurance agent sells you a policy. And the reason is because there are just so many disputes about people who bought policies and in the end couldn't get claims, and they argued that they are being missold in one way or the other. So this was a big problem in China. And so a few years back, the Chinese government has mandated that all these must be recorded when the insurance agent sells you a policy. But the recordings of these video recordings is, number one, a very big job in terms of storage. And second, a very big job in terms of compliance, because you would record all this and store it, and then when a dispute comes, you would dig out your archive of recordings and listen to one of them and realize that he didn't record what he's supposed to record, or you could not see the client, or the client didn't acknowledge in certain areas. You find out that after all this hoo-ha and storing and whatever, in the end, when the dispute comes along, the original recording is not a compliant thing. So we built everything on a mobile. It checks account. There's a lot of technology in this piece, and I have a video on it, but I didn't, in view that it's 20 minutes, so I've taken the video out. It basically recognizes the client, recognizes the agent via voice print, so that the client can acknowledge later on, and it can acknowledge that. And then it also records everything that the agent says, converts it to text, and then matches it with what the insurance should say, so that it checks everything, every clause that the insurance agent is supposed to say, everything that the customer is supposed to confirm, is then done on this mobile before it gets archived. Yeah, so that is 100% compliant. So with this solution, we have managed to reduce 30-odd% disputes to almost nothing. Yeah. Okay, there are some numbers over there, you can read it a little bit. And then car claims, this is another solution that potentially I think blockchain can come in the later phase. In China, we are the most profitable auto insurance company. Most auto insurance don't make money. It's very hard to make money from auto insurance because fraud is just so prevalent in auto insurance, right? I cannot remember where I heard this TED talk, but then somebody was doing a survey and said, is it okay to cheat the government of tax? And hardly 2% will say it's okay. They said, nah, you're not supposed to cheat your tax. You're supposed to pay your tax, etc. Most people are honest in nature. And then the question is changed to, is it okay for you to cheat the insurance company? And a good 25% says that, yeah, I think it's actually okay to cheat the insurance company. So it's quite a funny mentality, but fraud in insurance to a certain extent falls into a different criteria of whether is it the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do by human nature. So fraud in insurance is a big problem, and we attempt to minimize fraud in a few areas. Number one, people inflate car claims. So this is an app on the phone that you would do a video scan when you hit a crash. And then you do a video scan, you use image recognition, recognize the parts that are spoiled. The AI engine calculates the compensation, or estimate of the compensation, plus minus, whatever. And then it allows the Chinese who is strapped for cash to say that I agree with your calculation. And if he agrees with the calculation, he gets the cash right away. Right, so 98% of PingAn's customers get their claims right away. Yeah, 60% is fully automated, as in they need not speak to anyone. They can choose to speak to someone after the incident. So it's then half automated. 60% would do 100% on their own on the app. You do this video, it tells you the amount. You can choose to repair or not repair your car. I mean, we don't really care, but at least you don't send to the workshop. Somebody nicely tells you something else needs to be repaired, etc., etc. Today, this app, the only reason why it's not 100% is because this app doesn't work in dark places. So at night, the app doesn't work. So unfortunately, if you have a car crash at night, you have to do it the manual way. Yeah, so that's why it's 98. So, okay, sorry, I didn't touch on the loss ratio. That's very important. So by using this app, not only is the customer service better, the loss ratio is also reduced by 6%. That's how we are the most profitable insurance. Yeah, so that there's no inflation in between. This solution, we think that we can add blockchain in it, but it requires a community. It requires insurance community to get together and decide that they want to get onto a blockchain platform, and then they can they can check. Then this app can check whether or not this claim has been filed before, potentially. Yeah. Okay, so I prepared these few case study, and then to tie it together to say that these two technology today for us and in OneConnect is very intertwined. And I think very complementary to a certain extent. Yeah, we think that there is a lot of opportunities to apply blockchain in the insurance area. And because OneConnect is hardly a year old in Singapore, our InsurTech solution is right now in the midst of pilot and trying, I would think, with the insurance companies at this point in time. I would think that you would try the AI solutions first, then think about the blockchain solutions. We definitely also are not of the opinion that every solution requires a blockchain technology, or an entire platform needs to be a blockchain technology. We felt that maybe a component of it requires the blockchain technology, and that will work fine. Yeah. So that's everything in my presentation.
We've got a few questions from the audience. First question. Can you please elaborate why your blockchain solutions are mainly in the experiment stage? Is PingAn facing certain roadblocks?
Why is it infancy stage?
Experiment, yep.
Yeah, I don't think it's, I think it's our, we felt technology as a whole is the direction for financial institutions to progress. Blockchain, and I do apologize if there are blockchain, really obsessed blockchain people here, right? So blockchain is one of the many technologies, right? And it addresses some problems on privacy, on that the banks, on data sharing that we think is of good value. We definitely want to continue to invest, and we have altogether about 5,000 data scientists in China, and then the blockchain team alone is almost about 200 blockchain developers, so it's still not a small team. It continues to be a focus, but this morning the Gartner published a report. I don't know whether you read it. It says that by 2030, I think by 2030, it says we expect 90% of the blockchain built today to be abolished, rebuilt, or thrown away, or needed to be upgraded, right? So technology at the infancy stage requires testing. We test the technology within PingAn. PingAn Group has an internal philosophy that we feel we're the guinea pig, right? So our group don't have a choice. If I try a blockchain technology on a new thing, we'll try it within the group, right? So that we don't commercialize it that fast. So I wouldn't say that there's roadblocks. It's the same as any other technology that we have invested in. We're very big on AI though, because we felt that this has yielded a lot of actual applications. But blockchain has you have not yet to seen its peak, we felt. For sure it will come. But Gartner, as what Gartner says, which I totally agree, I think everything that is available today or tested today or POC today, by 2030 you have a brand new, 90% will be replaced, I think.
I'm glad you mentioned AI. So when you mentioned blockchain and AI is displayed on your slide, do you find any synergies between these two technologies? If yes, how? And if not, why not?
The answer is yes. For sure there's a lot of synergies because when you have more data, you can build your AI engine. Right? AI is all about having loads and loads of data. And blockchain is all about sharing some value data across parties. So they're all about data and availability of data. And computing power, because AI today also has limits due to computing power. And as you get 5G, as computing power gets better and better, for sure I think both technology will be progressing together, hand in hand. You might not marry them all the time, but there are a lot of instances where you felt that, yes, for a solution to work, especially anything that is cross-border, you would have some AI components in the individual platforms, but everything that is cross-border, blockchain comes into play. Yeah.